Good morning, everyone. Good morning to the web watcher. We, HRSC, would like to thank you all for participating in this morning presentation. Social Security, Ms. Tanya Johnson. She is a lead public service specialist with the Social Security Agency. She will be doing the presentation this morning. So let's give Ms. Tanya a warm welcome.
Be careful there. Well, good morning. I feel like I'm in the dark behind this podium. I am Tanya Farrell Johnson, the lead public affairs specialist with the Social Security Administration here in the Washington, D.C. metro area. I'm going to spend a little time this morning talking with you about Social Security, mostly retirement benefits, but we will cover some dependents. I normally go kind of in depth with Medicare, but I understand Medicare is going to be here this morning, so I will let them have their program. This is so awkward, you guys. I can't even see the slide. Well, I need to stay here, they say, because I'm being broadcast out. I guess they are in front of me, but I don't want to have to look down at them. Thank you so much. Okay, so a couple of years ago, the agency went through a rebranding. Our whole entire website was revamped. We even got a slogan of sorts. We are,
let me say what I should have said.
Okay.
Okay, for the web watchers, we do have a change in the email address where you need to send your question to. It is Patricia J. Lewis. She is on Firebird. So if you have any questions, please send them to her instead of Phyllis. Patricia J. Lewis. Thank you.
So where should I point this to make it go forward?
It should be.
Is it on? Maybe it's not on. That might be the problem. Nope, that's not it.
Dennis is coming.
Okay.
I can't help
Yeah. So, while we're on this slide, I put this slide with my email address. I'm gonna come around here. I think he said I was okay if I stand here. My email address, because I actually do want you to use it. If you have questions that you can't get answered here today, or something comes up later, please.
That's forward.
Yeah, that's what I was clicking.
That's what you got right there.
Okay. All right, thank you. Please use the email address. One of my responsibilities as a public affairs specialist is to keep you out of our field offices as much as possible. So if it's a question that you have that I can answer via email, I would rather you send it to me. I can see your everything. I can't take your claim, but I can still see your everything and can possibly answer most questions that you'll have. So please don't hesitate to use the email address on this first slide. As I was stating, Social Security, we went through a rebranding. We have a slogan of sorts. We are Social Security with you through life's journey, securing today and tomorrow. I've been with the agency now a little less than 16 years and had not thought about the fact that we are literally with you through life's journey. We are there when that newborn needs a Social Security number, throughout if you should become disabled, because we have the two disability programs, Social Security Disability and Supplemental Security Income, to the point that you possibly lose a loved one, and we pay those survivors benefits and the lump sum death payment. Okay. But the part of the journey that we are going to talk with you all today about is your retirement party. For most of you, I hope we will be an integral part of your retirement celebration. For some, we may not, but we hope to play a big part in most of your retirement parties. Social Security replaces about 40% of your pre-retirement income. So we don't come close to replacing your pre-retirement income. So it's important that you have these other things. You have your other incomes, your savings, your investments, your pension. We consider ourselves to be the foundation of your retirement, because what you paid in determines what you're going to get. It's not going to change, hopefully. Money.gov is not our website. There were about 25 government agencies came together to provide the public with this tool. It's a financial planning tool. We were asked to share that this is out there. It's free. Take advantage of it. I've never used it, so I can't answer any questions about it, but it's there if you want to play with it. Now, lots of people depend upon Social Security benefits. As of December of last year, we had over 61 million folks receiving our benefits. That's inclusive of all of our benefits, the retirement, the disability, the dependents. About 174 million workers currently pay into Social Security. That means FICA taxes are being withheld from the earnings of over 174 million. But only about 94% of those folks are going to actually receive a benefit. Reason for that is some people pay in, but they don't pay in enough to become insured. Some people pay in, but they're entitled to that non-covered pension, which may make them ineligible for the benefit once we offset their benefit. As of December 2014, we had over 42 million people receiving retirement benefits from Social Security alone, and we paid out over $59 billion per month in benefits to those retired workers. In addition to the retired workers, we paid over 3 million dependents of those retired workers an additional $2.2 billion monthly in benefits. This slide is representative of the fact that an individual, the earliest you can receive Social Security retirement benefits is age 62. We don't pay anyone retirement benefits prior to age 62. So on this slide, this individual at 62 could receive about 3/4 of their full benefit. They reach full retirement age at age 66. So if their full unreduced benefit is $1,000, at 66 they'd get the $1,000. At 62 they'd get about $750. If they waited until 70, with what we call delayed retirement credits, we pay 8% for every 12 months that you allow us to continue to use your monies beyond your full retirement age. This individual will get about $1,320 per month. Please do not wait beyond age 70 to receive your benefits. We stop paying that 8% at 70. Now, to become eligible for Social Security retirement, you have to earn quarters or credits. You can earn 4 quarters per year. Every year, Congress sets a dollar amount that a credit is worth. 2018, that dollar amount is $1,320. So once you've earned $5,280, you've gotten your 4 quarters for the year. It takes 40 quarters to become insured. After you have 40 quarters, we stop counting quarters. No one has 44 quarters, no one has 80 quarters. You just need to get 40 to become insured. Once you become insured, we then look at your earnings. We look at your highest 35 years of earnings. Now, who in the audience has a My Social Security account? Come on. Okay. So you know we used to mail out that statement every year. We used to mail out that statement every year. So we don't anymore, except on special occasions. So we don't know if your earnings are correct, but we need for you to check to make sure your earnings are correct. And sometimes the earnings that are reported to us are not correct. So we're pushing everything you can do online, please, including filing for your retirement. So if you file for your retirement online, and you have not checked your earnings and some earnings are missing, once you hit the button, we put you into pay erroneously. Traditionally, you would sit in front of someone, we would print out your earnings statement, we say, hey, look at this, does this look correct? And you say, well, no, I was working in 97, why is there 0 there? I don't know, but if you provide us a W-2 or a closed out tax return, we can put those earnings there. If you don't have a W-2 or a closed out tax return for the year that's missing, if you were working for the same employer the year before the missing earnings and the year after the missing earnings, we will average the year before and the year after and put that there for you. So at least you don't have a 0. But that's only if you were working for the same employer the year before and the year after. But please, if you don't have a My Social Security account, one of the major reasons to have one is to make sure your earnings are correct. So again, we're going to look at your highest 35 years of earnings, whether you have worked 35 years or not. right? So it only takes 10 years to become insured because you can get 4 quarters per year. You need 40 quarters. If you stopped at 10 years, you're eligible. You come to file for benefits. We're going to look at the 10 you worked, and we're going to factor in 25 years of zeros before we average. And of course, zeros bring an average down. Once we get your highest 35 years, we do what's called an indexing. We index those early years earnings, those lower earnings that you may have, and give them current wage value. So that $17,000 you made in '89 could today be worth $35,000. Don't quote me on that. That's just a, you know. So we index all those early years earnings, take those 35 years, we average those 35 years. That gives you what we call your average monthly earnings. So in this example, an individual has a $5,500 average monthly earnings. With your average monthly earnings, we do 3 things. We take 90% of the first $895 of that average. Then we take 32% of any earnings from $895 to $5,397. And then we take 15% of any earnings over $5,397. We add those 3 totals together. That gives us what you will receive if you wait until your full retirement age to receive your Social Security benefit. That is your unreduced benefit amount. Now, this process can be done manually. We provide you the indexing factors for every year since Social Security came into being. So if you want to go and figure it yourself, you are welcome to. I don't encourage you doing that, but you can. Your full retirement age is based upon your year of birth. Right now, the full retirement age is maxed out at age 67. So for anyone born after 1960, the full retirement age is 67. So you look at your year, and if you're, let's say, born in 1958, your full retirement age is 66 and 8 months. That means if you turn 66 in February of 2019, your full retirement age is not until October of 2019. Okay? All right. So as I was stating, you can do figure your benefit manually if you choose, but we have a retirement estimator on our website. It's actually on the home page of our website so that you can get an estimate, because it's about financial planning. It's about planning what you're going to have post-retirement, what monies are going to be coming in post-retirement. So you can use the retirement estimator. You can put in what if scenarios. What if I filed at age or retired at age 62? What if I filed at age 64? What if I waited until 70? It will give you that estimate. Everything you do on our website is an estimate. You don't know what it actually is going to be until you actually file. But the estimate is not going to be any less than what you're going to actually get. Okay? While we were waiting, there were 2 hands that went up when asked if you are CSRS. So for those folks who are CSRS or who are eligible for any other type of non-covered pension, that is a pension where Social Security taxes were not withheld from the earnings that pension is based upon, we will offset your benefit from Social Security. And that offset is called the Windfall Elimination Provision, or WEP. What happens is we look at how many years you do have covered under Social Security. So at the point that you are receiving or eligible for both your Social Security retirement and that non-covered pension, the offset does not go into effect until you are eligible for both benefits. But at the point that you're eligible for both your non-covered pension and the Social Security retirement, we will offset your Social Security retirement based upon the number of years that you did work under Social Security. You have to have worked at least 10 because you got to have your 40 quarters. If you don't have your 40 quarters, then there's no reason to even apply for the Social Security. So the only place, if you recall our equation, when we were figuring your benefit, the only place that an offset is imposed is in that first 90%. Instead of taking 90% of the first 895, we're going to look at how many years you did work under Social Security, and we're going to pick the percentage that corresponds with the number of years. So if you worked 25 years covered under Social Security, instead of taking 90% of that first 895, we're going to take 65%. That is the only difference in the calculation. That first smaller portion of your average monthly earnings. If you have worked 30 years covered under Social Security and you're eligible for a non-covered pension, we will not offset you. Okay, so either you're going to be offset based on the percentage, or you've worked 30 years in addition to that non-covered pension, there will be no offset. These are some other calculators we have on our website to help you in planning. We have the WEP calculator. So if you know that you are going to be WEP offset, you can use the calculator to determine how much of an offset. If you have a spouse that you know may be eligible for benefits on your record, use the spouse calculator to see how much additional monies can come into the household because you have an eligible spouse. Any questions about how we figure your benefit before we move on to yes, sir. Hold on, I think they want to bring a mic to you.
If your spouse also has at least 10 years of earnings, and but once the other spouse has more, makes more, has made more, can you use the mic? How does one go electing? Is each spouse entitled to their own share of Social Security, or is it based on the higher earner?
Okay, so the question was, if you and your spouse are both eligible for a retirement benefit, how do you go about electing which one to take? You have to take your own. There may be some, and I'm going to get to spouses in a few minutes, but you have to take your own. Everyone's eligible for their own, and they have to file for their own before they can file for additional benefits on the other spouse's record. Okay, so, okay, I think we had another question.
Hi, you mentioned 35-year average where years you did not work counted as zero. Does that also apply if you were a student?
It's any earnings that you reported to IRS that they in turn reported to us. If it's on your earnings record, it's counted when we consider your highest 35.
Okay, and if you had no income as a student, in my personal situation, I worked, I saved, took that money, went back to school, lived off the savings, and eventually worked again. Mm-hmm. So I had several years of no income.
Then those would be 0 years on your earnings record. If you don't have 35 years with actual earnings, then we're going to fill in with zeros. We're going to add zeros for the years that you don't have.
Even if you were a student?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks.
Mm-hmm.
I got a question back here. The path I heard, and you brought it up, a good chance for me to go back and check, but like, let's say like the past 3 years, when you look at your Social Security report and try to print it out, let's say your taxable income happens to be the same price because the system hasn't had a chance to update it with the newest price. Is that true? And if so, do we need to bring our last 3 years of our taxable, report showing the W-2 forms with us when we have our appointment with Social Security?
So what you're saying is on your estimate, it says if you work at the same rate for the next few years, this is what your estimate will be? Is that what you're referring to? No.
I'm talking about your W-2, okay? Let's say this is 18, back in 15, I made 100,000. Mm-hmm. And 16, I made 110. Mm-hmm. And 17, I made 125. Okay, but it's going to show 110 for all 3 years on the report that I print out because it had a chance to update. Is that true or not? No. Or are you already current?
Yeah, it depending upon what point in the year you look at your report, it should at least have you up to the previous year.
The previous year?
Right.
Okay. When we're going in for the appointment, which I'm going in August, okay, do I need to bring the tax record with me then for the prior?
For 17?
Yeah.
No, sir. We should have your 17 earnings.
You should have the 17?
Have you filed your taxes for 17?
Oh, yes, yeah. We don't do that.
We should have 17 when you go in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
With regard to the spouse files their own, but then if the spouse knows they're going to, their amount is less than the second spouse, then what's the step for filing for 1/2 instead of having benefits on their own contribution?
Okay, so we're going to get to spouses in a second, but you of course would have to file before your spouse could file on your record. So if your spouse, say, is older than you, so your spouse files on their record, you have not yet filed because you're still working. Once you are ready to file, just bring your spouse in if you're going to do it face-to-face. Hopefully you're going to do it online because you can do a spouse's application as well as a retirement application online. Just file at the same time you do. And we're going to get more into eligibility if your spouse is even going to be eligible on your record in just a minute. Probably right after we talk about working while you're receiving Social Security benefits. So you can work and receive Social Security benefits, but there is a limit to the amount that you can earn. And every year Congress sets actually 2 earnings limits. There's an earnings limit for you being under full retirement age, and then there's an earnings limit for if you are in the year that you turn full retirement age. If you're under full retirement age, 2018's earnings limit is $17,040 gross. That is the amount that you can gross per year or for the year of 2018 and still receive all of the benefits that you're due from Social Security. If you earn over that limit, Social Security withholds $1 for every 2 that you earn over. So the way that works is, let's say traditionally you come into an office, we ask, are you working? Do you plan to continue working? And you say yes. How much do you think you're going to earn for the rest of the year? So let's say you filed today. You've already made $60,000 for the year. We do not count that 60. That was before you became a part of us. So we're only concerned with what you're going to earn after you become eligible for the Social Security benefit. So how much you're going to earn from July through December. If you are in the first year of entitlement to Social Security, we don't look at that full 17. We actually divide the 17 by 12, and then you're subject to what we call a monthly earnings limit, which is just the $1,740 divided by 12. So are you going to earn for each month remaining in the year more than the monthly earnings limit? Yes, you are. If you're going to earn over, we have to withhold $1 for every 2. So that now 2019 comes around. We're going to send you a letter saying, are you still working? How much do you think you're going to earn? You're going to earn, say, $4,000 over whatever the annual earnings limit is in 2019. We're still going to have to withhold $1 for every $2 that you earn over the limit. You're going to earn $4,000 over, we need to withhold $2,000. Your monthly benefit is, say, $1,500 a month. Social Security does not withhold partial checks. So we're going to withhold 2 of your $1,500 checks, the check for January and the check for February, and we will resume paying you in March. Now, Social Security pays retirement payments a month behind. So the check for July comes in August. The check for August comes in September, and so on and so forth. And the reason for that is you have to live throughout the entire month to be eligible for the benefit. So July has 31 days. So if you passed on July 31st, 11:59 and 59 seconds, you're not entitled to the check for July. It's probably already set to go out, but that has to be returned to the agency. Also, Social Security checks used to always come in a paper form, and they were all mailed on the same day of the month. All the checks went out on the 3rd of the month. That was a hardship for Social Security as well as for the Postal Service, having to deliver those millions of checks all on one day. So now Social Security payments are cycled, and they have to be direct deposited. Okay? Your pay cycle is based on your date of birth. So if you were born from the 1st to the 10th of a month, You will receive your checks on the second Wednesday of each month. The 11th to the 20th, third Wednesday. The 20th to the end of the month, fourth Wednesday. Don't know if any of you have ever gotten a notice from Social Security, but most of our notices say if you disagree with our decision, you have the right to appeal. One of the few things that you cannot appeal is your pay cycle. We are not going to change your pay cycle. So if you were born on the 24th of July, you turned 62, I want my money, give me my money now. First of all, we're not going to make you eligible for the benefit until you have been 62 throughout an entire month. All right, the first month that you're 62 throughout the entire month. So if you turn 62 on July 24th, you're not 62 throughout the entire month until August. August check does not come until September. You were born on the 24th of the month, so you won't get your first check until the fourth Wednesday in September. So planning purposes, you need to know these things because there's a pretty big delay, right? And that's not going to change. That is one of the few things that we will not let you appeal is that pay cycle. Okay, so back to working. I was having a conversation, I think with a gentleman here on the fourth row about work. Two of the benefits of continuing to work after you start receiving the benefit, of course, for us is that you are continuing to pay into the trust fund. For you, it could mean that your benefit will go up. So if you were that individual who had 25 years of earnings, we had to factor in 10 zeros. Any additional work you do, once we recomp your benefit for new work, is going to replace a zero. So for every year that you continue to work, at least for the next 15 years, is going to make your benefit go up. So anytime we see additional earnings that replaces a lower year that was used in your previous computation, we recomp your benefit and your benefit amount goes up. If you are in the year that you turn full retirement age, the earnings limit is a lot higher. But here's something to think about. We have like 3 categories of folks as far as their Social Security retirement. We have that group that at 62, I want my money because I don't know if it's going to be there much longer. We have that group that says, I want all of my money. I want my money at my full retirement age. And then we have that group that says, well, I'm going to wait to 70 because I'm going to get that extra, 8% for each year. I'm good. We live long in my family. I'm going to hold out. But something, and either works. Whatever works for you works for us. I will never tell you when you should because that is a very personal decision. But I have to tell you some things that you need to think about when making the decision. So let's say you are in the year that you turn full retirement age. Your full retirement age is July 2019, right? In July of 2019, you could receive, say, $2,100 a month in benefits. In January of 2019, you could receive $2,000 per month, right? Full retirement age is July, which means that as this third column or row, whatever that is, says, once you reach full retirement age, we don't care about your earnings anymore. As of the first day of the month that you turn full retirement age, we no longer care about your earnings. Earn as much as you want, you'll still get all of your benefits from Social Security. So, full retirement age, July 2019, you could receive $2,100 per month in benefits. As of January 2019, you could receive $2,000 per month. Do I take my $2,100 because that is more than $2,000, right? Or do I say, well, $2,000 a month times 6 months from January to June that I could get prior to turning full retirement age, that's about $12,000 that it's going to take me, and I know you all have your smartphones, it's going to take you at least about 12 years to break even at $100 a month difference. So you already have to be full retirement age, which is at least 66. And when you add 12 years onto that, we're talking you're at least 78 years old before you break even. So it's just something to think about. I'm not telling you to go ahead and take it, but I want you to have that information. And our website provides, if you go to our website and search break even, it breaks that down for you. But it's something you need to think about. How much money is coming into the household versus getting a larger check in the end. All right, does that make sense to everybody? Yes, sir.
So following your scenario, if your spouse is going to receive half of your benefit,
Okay.
and you chose to file for a benefit at 62,
Okay.
you live 4 or 5 years, you predecease your spouse. She filed on half of your benefit. It was set on that amount at 62. Had you waited to 70, where your benefit would have increased 8% a year, and filed then you die at 72. Does your spouse get more money because she's the survivor, because she's getting half of what you earned of your benefit at 70, or does she get the same at 62?
Okay. So a spouse is not entitled to those delayed retirements. A widow, I'm sorry, is not entitled to your delayed retirement credits, which is that 8%. So only you, the worker, are entitled to that 8% increase. So your spouse would get what's based on your full retirement age amount. So your spouse would be entitled to 50% of your unreduced amount, reduced for their age. But at your passing, that goes to automatically 75%. So we pay a higher death benefit than we do a live benefit. So the spouse is automatically going to receive more upon your passing than they were receiving when you were alive. But they do not get benefit of those delayed retirement credits.
Fine, but is the amount that the spouse receives, I can't decipher an answer from what you've said, ma'am.
Okay.
Is the amount the spouse receives based on the benefit at age 60, your retirement age at 62, or because you waited till 70 and the spouse would be receiving half of that larger benefit? I understand her benefit's not going up. I mean, she's earning money on your benefit, but does it go up?
Okay, so here's how the spouse's benefit.
After you've died.
All right, so here's how the spouse's benefit is figured. And we're actually we're gonna get the kids first. So on that screen where we figured your benefit amount, and it was like $2,200 is what your unreduced benefit is. Your spouse's benefit is based upon your unreduced. It's 50% of your unreduced, not 50% of your reduced at age 62. So if you file for yours at 62, and let's say you're eligible for $1,500 at 62 and $2,000 at full retirement age, we're figuring your spouse's 50% based on the $2,000, not the $1,500 that you're actually receiving. So even if you waited until you were 70, we're still going to base your spouse's 50% on that $2,000, which is your unreduced, because she's not going to get benefit of your waiting. Does that answer it?
I think so.
Okay. All right. So let's now talk about, so that we can soon get to spouses, let's talk about the dependents that we do pay on your record. One of the categories of dependents that we pay on your record are children. And for Social Security's purposes, your child can be either your biological, adopted, step, and in some cases, grandchildren or child. We will only pay a grandchild on your record if both biological parents are either disabled or deceased. A child has to be unmarried. A child is also subject to the earnings limit, because some kids at 16 can work. We will pay a child up until age 18, and a child is entitled to 50% of your unreduced benefit. We do not reduce a child's benefit. So if you have that unreduced benefit amount of $2,000 and you have a child under the age of 18 that is either your biological step or adopted, we will pay that child $1,000 per month. We will pay that child, again, up until age 18. If the child is beyond age 18 and still in high school full-time, we will pay up until 19 and 2 months. We do not pay any beyond that. We will also pay a child beyond the age of 18 if that child has been found to be disabled through one of Social Security's disability programs, and that disabling condition began prior to the child reaching age 22. Now, spouse's benefits. We will pay a spouse on your record. A spouse, of course, is someone that you're married to. Here in the district recognizes common law marriage. So if the state or the district recognizes common law, Social Security recognizes common law. We will pay, well, a spouse has to be 62. Everyone has to be at least 62 in order to be eligible for the benefit. A spouse is entitled to 50% of your unreduced benefit reduced for the spouse's age at the time of filing. So if you're 62, you file, your spouse is 62, they file. They have to file on their own record before they can file on yours. So your spouse is eligible, spouse files on their own record. We look to see if the spouse is now eligible for some benefits on your record because you're also filing. Spouse cannot file on your record until you file. So if you have an unreduced benefit amount of $2,000 and your spouse has an unreduced benefit amount on their own of $1,000, in order for your spouse to receive on your record, their unreduced benefit amount has to be less than half of your unreduced benefit amount. So if you've got a $2,000 unreduced amount and the spouse has a $1,000 unreduced amount, is that spouse going to be eligible for any benefits on your record? No, because 1,000 is not less than half of 2,000, it is half of 2,000. But if you have an unreduced benefit amount of $2,000 and your spouse has an unreduced benefit amount of $500, then the spouse is eligible for some additional benefits on your record. The spouse is not going to receive both benefits. The spouse receives the higher of the two. The higher of the two is half of yours, half of the $2,000. That's $1,000. The spouse is going to get the 5 from their own, and then there's the 5 from yours, but the 5 from yours is going to be reduced if that spouse is not yet full retirement age. Does that make sense to everybody? Okay.
Does that also apply to ex-spouses?
Yeah, we're going to get to them in just a second. I think we have one up here.
So going back to the 4 quarters, if the spouse does not have the 40 quarters required, then she automatically goes under the half of the husband?
Yes. All right. Now, divorced spouses. Your divorced spouse, the requirements are similar to the spouse. Divorced spouse has to be 62. The divorced spouse is entitled to 50% of your unreduced benefit reduced for their age. In order for a divorced spouse to be entitled on your record, you have to have been married for at least 10 years. You have to have been divorced for 2 years at the time of filing. And at the time of filing, the divorced spouse cannot be married. They could have previously been married and divorced again, and they decided to file on your record because it'll pay them the higher benefit. But at the time of application, the divorced spouse cannot be married. If the divorced spouse begins receiving a divorced spousal benefit and marries, the benefit stops. The difference between the divorced spouse and the current spouse is the divorced spouse does not have to wait for you to file on your record. Okay, so the divorced spouse just has to know that your retirement age For Social Security purposes, that's age 62, have a marriage license and a divorce decree, and meet the other requirements, and we will pay them. That is one of the few applications we have that you still have to come into the office to see us to apply. So you could have a spouse in their situation, a divorced spouse who does not have 40 quarters. So they're not insured on their own. But they know you turn 62 tomorrow. They come see us with the divorce decree, the marriage license, and we put them in pay. We do not notify you. We do not, I hate to say we don't care, but we don't care what your divorce decree may have said, because some folks put in their divorce decree that you cannot receive any of my Social Security. That means absolutely nothing to the agency. If they meet our requirements, we pay them. And the reason that we don't have to notify you is because the title of the benefit is independently entitled divorced spouse. The amount that we pay the divorced spouse is paid, let's say, out of a different pocket. So the amount that we pay a divorced spouse is not going to affect what you can receive. No one that we pay on your record affects what you receive. But the amount that we pay the divorced spouse does not affect an amount that your current spouse could receive or any children you have can receive. They're paid outside what we call the family maximum. So everyone else that's eligible is going to get what they're entitled to, even if we pay 3 or 4 different divorced spouses. It's not going to affect what your current spouse or children could receive on your record.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was clear with this. So I was married for 15 years. I meet all your requirements. I never remarried, but he remarried. Mm-hmm. Now, let's say that his Social Security would be higher than mine. Is it feasible that I could collect his from 62 to 67 and then collect my own, continue to work and continue to add benefits to mine, and then collect mine at 67?
Okay, so the only thing that could throw a snag in the plan is the work piece, because you're still subject to the earnings limit. So if you're going to earn over that lower earnings limit, then we'll take your claim, but you'd be subjecting yourself to that lower benefit amount forever. So if you find yourself at a situation where you're not working,
okay,
and you have to file for your own first, unless he passes. Okay. Widower situation is different. As a widower, you have an option. You can take the widow's benefit and let yours continue to grow, or take yours and let the widower continue to grow. And we actually send you out a notice once the one you did not select exceeds the one that you did. But as a living spouse situation, you have to file for your own. Okay. If you're going to file for his.
So one other question. So is there a way for me as a divorced spouse to, because I do have my SSA account, as you were talking about, mm-hmm. Is there a way for me to see what his total earnings were so that I can compare them beforehand, or I just have to come in and apply and then you guys will tell me one way or the other?
If you come in and you have a social, if you don't have his social, we can look it up with a name and date of birth. Okay.
No biggie.
Okay, but yeah, we're not going to let you see someone else's information.
And then can I ask one other question that I didn't see in here, since I have the thing and I don't have to ask them back? I was told that there was, if you were in the military, that you may be eligible for additional benefits that you don't necessarily see in that document that we get on a yearly basis. Is that true or false, or just...
That's not true.
Okay, that's why I was asking.
Every year, and this is not a part of my presentation, but since you brought it up, every year, for some reason, someone is distributing this information to our veterans, saying that Social Security owes you an additional $400 or something, and then we get bombarded in our offices by these angry vets saying, "Where's my money? Where's my money?" And then I have to say, there is no more money. If you were in the military after 1967, all of your military wages are considered in your computation. Now, if you were in the military prior to 67, then there is a chance that some of your military wasn't counted. So then we say, well, bring us a DD-214 and let us look, and if it's not there, we'll add it. But if you were in after 67, there is no additional monies. You're welcome. All right. Okay.
If my husband and I have the same age, 64, by December 2018, and both work for the federal government and both have the 40 credits, can we retire now with no penalty, or do we have to wait until 66?
Okay. There is always going to be a reduction. We don't like to call it a penalty. It's going to be a reduction if you file prior to your full retirement age. So yes, there will be a reduction or some reductions. We consider a month a reduction. So let's say you filed at 62, your full retirement age is 66. That means you had 48 reductions, 4 years, 48 months. So there were 48 reductions. So however many months prior to your full retirement age that you file, that's the number of reductions that it will be imposed upon your benefit.
Is there a percentage for the reduction? How do you figure out how much the
Okay.
amount will be for that reduction?
So it's on our website. But from 62 to 65, the reduction is 5/9 of 1% for every month. From 65 to your full retirement age, it's 5/12 of 1%. So if you want to figure it, have at it. But that is how it's figured. 5/9, because 65 used to be the flat full retirement age for everyone, and then it graduated. So from 62 to 65, it's 5/9 of 1%. From 65 to your full retirement age, it's going to be 5/12 of 1% reduction for every month. Okay.
Will the Social Security be lowered if you have a federal pension, or is the federal pension lowered if you get Social Security?
It depends upon, of course, if that federal pension is based on earnings that were covered under Social Security. So if you're FERS, then no. But if you were CSRS, then yes, unless you have 30 years covered under Social Security in addition to that CSRS pension. Okay.
I have a question on the divorced spouse situation.
Uh-huh.
So you said if a spouse remarries and you don't remarry, that spouse can still claim some of your benefits.
So if your spouse remarries and then divorces, so you were married to your spouse for at least 10 years, you guys divorced.
Yes.
Right. And then the spouse marries someone else.
Yes.
And you don't.
Right.
Okay. You were married for 10 years. Did I already ask that? You're married for at least 10 years. Okay. So the spouse could, but not while they're currently married. So if the spouse divorces that person that they're currently married to and they meet all the other requirements, meaning that theirs is less than half of yours, then yes.
Okay. Does Social Security require you to be married to a person for a certain length of time before they consider their benefits?
For divorced spouses' benefits, it's 10 years. You have to have been married for 10 years in order to be eligible for divorced spouses' benefits. If you are married, then no, there is no duration. So if at the time you file, you're 62, you married someone when you were 61, you turn 62 or you both turn 62 at the same time, if that individual is eligible for benefits on your record and you both file, that 1 year is good enough.
Oh, wow.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else on divorced spouse? All right, so the government pension offset, that's the offset that we impose upon a spouse, widow, widower. So if you are a, let's say, civil service annuitant and your spouse is eligible for benefits, or you predecease a spouse, we're going to offset what you could receive as a spouse or widow, widower a lot more harshly than we would your windfall elimination provision. So instead of looking at the number of years that you have covered under Social Security, we're going to look at how much is that government pension, that non-covered pension you're receiving. And we're going to offset what you can receive from us by 2/3 of that pension. So in this example, you're entitled to a $1,200 a month non-covered pension, 2/3 of which is $800. So if your Social Security spouse's benefit is $750, you're not going to receive anything from us because we're going to offset that $750 by $800, which leaves you nothing. But if your Social Security spouse's benefit is $1,000, Once we offset $1,000 by $800, you'll still be eligible for $200. So it's a much harsher offset if you're eligible for a spousal or widower benefit than on your own record. Now, taxation of your Social Security benefits. Okay, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make sure I understood. So the pension offset applies to the ex-spouse or widower's benefits, not the worker's benefits. Is that correct?
Right. So let's say you, the worker, have a spouse, right, who is now eligible. Let's say you filed for your benefit at 64.
Well, I'm actually divorced, so it applies to
Okay,
ex-spouse
same
too,
thing.
right? Okay.
Right.
All right.
So you filed at 64, but you have your ex-spouse who's, decided he wants to wait until 70, and you didn't want to hit him at 62, which you could have if you were eligible.
Okay.
You could have gotten it at 62. So at 70, you decide you want to now file for divorced spouse's benefits on his record, but you are a civil service annuitant, receiving a civil service pension in the amount of, let's say, $6,000 per month. On his record as a divorced spouse, you could receive $2,000. That's very generous. But out of your $6,000 a month pension, we're going to offset you by 2/3 of that pension. That's $4,000. So $4,000 offset on a $2,000 a month benefit is going to leave you with nothing as a divorced spouse.
All right, and the definition of non-covered pension means any the work years you did not pay into Social Security. Is that what that?
Correct. That pension is based on work that Social Security taxes were not withheld.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, just a quick
I thought they had 2 of them.
I think you opened a can of worms. Hi, Tanya. It's Tom Barron. We talked before on the phone.
Okay.
If I get this right, I'm first. My wife is first, and she only worked about 13 years, 14 years with FES, right? Now she's home raising our child, been a housewife.
Okay.
And the question I've got is, when I draw my Social Security, is FERS exempt from this because we get a pension? It's only the CR?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you answered my question. Thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
I didn't hear what he said at the end, but so is it correct that this government pension offset only applies to divorced people? Is that?
No, it's for any spouse, divorced spouse, current spouse, or widowers. Yeah. That's it. All right. So, taxation of your Social Security retirement benefits. We are the messenger. If you notice down at the bottom, it says visit irs.gov. This is their slide that we have to share with you because, yes, your Social Security benefits can be income taxed. It depends upon how much your combined income is on your tax return. So if you file an individual tax return and you have combined income of less than $25,000, then nothing you receive from Social Security is going to be taxed. But if you have combined income that falls between $25,000 and $34,000, then up to 50% of the benefit you receive from Social Security can be taxed. If you have combined income of over $34,000, up to 85% of your Social Security benefits can be taxed. So of course, you know, once you start receiving your Social Security benefits, at the end of the year, we send you that 1099. And you have to claim that income on your taxes. So this is how IRS determines what your combined income is. So they take your adjusted gross income from your tax return plus any non-taxable interest and half of your Social Security benefits. So if that number puts you into one of these parameters, then yes, there is a likelihood that you will be taxed. I don't know what the up to means. That's an IRS thing. Okay.
My ex was in the military and is 65, divorced with a marriage of 10 years. I am still working, will be 62 this year, and I'm not planning on retiring soon. I think I make more than him because of great military benefits he acquired, reflecting less earning, more in benefits. Do I get anything in his Social Security benefits?
Okay. I'm thinking, I'm understanding the question. If you think your earnings are higher than your ex-spouse's, there is more of a likelihood that you will not receive anything off of his record. But we would have to look at that unreduced benefit. Just because your earnings like right now are higher does not necessarily mean that your unreduced benefit is going to be higher. So it's worth taking a look to see if there is a possibility that you could receive something. Also, in planning, and you hate to plan death, but we pay a higher death benefit than we do a live benefit. And in order to receive as a widower on a record, for the spousal benefit, the spouse's unreduced has to be less than half of the worker's unreduced, but for a death record, it just has to be less than. Okay, so you may not have been eligible for spousal benefits on a record, but you could very well be eligible for a widower benefit. So just because you think your spouse makes more than you, that does not necessarily mean, or you make more than them, does not necessarily mean that you are not going to be eligible for something. So if you think you might, please check and don't miss out on the benefit. All right. Like I said, I understand that Medicare is here, but I have to say something about Medicare because we tend to be the face of Medicare because Medicare does not have field offices. So most questions tend to come from us. Plus, you have to see Social Security to enroll in Part A and Part B of Medicare. Again, and it looks, I think she must be the Medicare person. Oh no, I thought she was waiting for me to move. But Part A of Medicare is your hospital coverage that covers your inpatient hospital visits. And Part B is your your medical insurance, and that covers your outpatient hospital and your doctor's visits. The only way to enroll in A and B is through Social Security. We don't really get involved in C and D because there are hundreds and hundreds of different companies that offer your Advantage plans and your prescription drug plans, and we cannot appear to endorse one company over another. I have to let you know the enrollment periods for Medicare. You are eligible for Medicare at 65. Okay, there are other enrollment opportunities. Most common, of course, is going to be age 65. If you have Lou Gehrig's disease or ALS, you can get Medicare without being age 65. If you have kidney failure or end-stage renal disease, again, you can become eligible for Medicare without being age 65. There are some other environmental health hazard exposures that we will cover you under Medicare without being age 65. And if you're receiving Social Security disability benefits, Medicare begins automatically once you've been on the rolls for 24 months. 3 enrollment periods for Medicare. Your initial enrollment period, which is a 7-month period, it includes the month you turn 65, the 3 months before, and the 3 months after. We have the general enrollment period, which is every year, January 1 through March 31, but the coverage does not begin until July of that year. And we have the special enrollment period, and that's for those folks who are still working, covered under a group health plan based on their active work, or their spouse is working and they're covered under a group health plan based on their spouse's active work. If you don't file for Medicare Part B at age 65, we won't penalize you, or you won't be penalized. Normally, if you don't enroll in Medicare when you're first eligible, there's a 10% penalty tacked on to the base premium for every 12 months that you delay enrolling in Part B. But if you fall under the special enrollment period, there is no penalty. At the point that you stop working, you have 8 months to then enroll in Part B if you want Part B of Medicare before the penalty process begins. And I'm not going to go into anything else because I know you all have Medicare coming, so I'm going to move on to our I told you we have a life expectancy, or in our bubble, I didn't tell you, there was a life expectancy calculator that we have on our website. I've never gone to it. I don't plan to. I don't know what it tells you. Feel free if you'd like, but I include this life expectancy statistic slide in my presentation just to show that folks are living longer. We're living longer, which means Social Security is paying longer. Anybody in the audience know who Ida Mae Fuller is? Ida Mae? Nobody knows Ida Mae. Okay, I'm not surprised. I didn't either until I read our history. Ida Mae was the very first person to receive a Social Security payment. Ida Mae worked under the new Social Security program for 3 years. She received her first check in 1939. Ida Mae, in the 3 years she worked under Social Security, paid in a total of $25.77 in contribution. Ida Mae lived to be 100. So based on her $25.77 contribution, we ended up paying her over $25,000. Social Security does not stop paying you once you have received what you've contributed. We continue to pay you well above and beyond your contribution. Most people, on average, will receive everything that they've contributed within the first 1 to 5 years of receiving the benefit. But we don't stop. We don't stop paying you until you are no longer, and we are living longer. So the future of Social Security. We had a recent trustees report come out, and our solvency year did not change. We are still fully solvent through 2034. That does not mean that Social Security is bankrupt after 2024. It means that if the minds on the Hill don't come together and fix things the way that they have in the past, because we've been in this situation before and things worked out and we were still able to pay everyone everything that they're entitled to. If that should not happen by 2024, instead of being able to pay you 100% of whatever it is that you are entitled to at whatever point you decide to file, we'll only be able to pay, and this slide has not been updated since the trustees report a month or so ago, we'll only be able to pay you now 79% of what you would normally have been able to get. There are 3 service delivery methods with Social Security. I encourage online, and online. Every day we're adding something to our website that you can do online, and I encourage, if it can be done online, please do it online. Prior to becoming a public affairs specialist in 2016, I was the supervisor in the Camp Springs, Maryland Social Security office. I opened the office every morning at 6:45 because my staff could come in at 7, but the public could not come in until 9. They were there before me at 6:45, camped out with coolers and lawn chairs in the snow, in the rain, it did not matter. And that goes on all day. You cannot come into any lobby with the Social Security Administration with drink nor food, so you're gonna wait, and you're gonna wait uncomfortably. So if it is something that you can do online, please take advantage of it. If you have to call us, we do have our 1-800-772-1213 number. I personally don't encourage you calling that number. If you want to reach us by phone, go to our website, put your zip code in the search, and find your office, your local office, and call that number if you have to do service over the phone. And we will always, always, always offer a face-to-face option. We know that there are folks out there who want to sit down and look someone in the eye when you're about to tell me what's going to go on for the rest of my life. This is just a screenshot of our home page that I was saying. If you want to file for enrolling your My Social Security account, it's right there for you. The retirement estimator is right there on the home page so that you can do some planning. If you have a My Social Security account and you're receiving benefits from Social Security or you're entitled to Medicare, you can order a replacement Social Security card online. Only a replacement. If you're trying to fix something, like you're trying to change your name or change your date of birth, you cannot do that online. You still have to come and see us because we have to see documentation to support the change. You can get a benefit verification, change your address, phone number, direct deposit, order a replacement Medicare card, replacement 1099. I don't know if anyone in here is on Medicare. Medicare is in the process now of replacing Medicare cards. Your Medicare card will no longer have your Social Security number on it. I think they're in phase or about to enter phase 4. Most folks in this area, if you are Medicare eligible, should already have your new Medicare card. If you're not yet receiving benefits from Social Security, you still can get a replacement Social Security card online. If you have an application pending, you can check the status of your application. The thing I like to point out and have folks to do if you have a My Social Security account is get the estimate. This last bullet. Get the estimate of what you've actually contributed. And then look at how much you can receive from us at whatever point you're deciding to file for your benefit. And say to yourself, well, yeah, I plan to live another 30, 40 years after retirement. And see just how wonderful an agency we are once you see how much more we're going to give you or you're eligible for beyond what you've actually contributed to the agency. And if there are no more questions, do you have a question?
Yes. What if my husband dies now and I have not filled out forms? Do I get his Social Security benefits?
If your husband dies now, if you are at least 60, you have to be 60, not 62, 60 for widower's benefits. You're subject to the work. So I'm assuming if you're sending in this message, you're working. So you're subject to the earnings limit. So you probably would not want to do that right now. But if you are after 60 at any point, you stop working, even if it's beyond 62, at that point you have, again, an option. You can take the widower benefit or you can take your own. You can't take both, but you can take one or the other and let the other grow. We send out a notice letting you know that the one you did not pick exceeds, when the one you did not pick exceeds the one you did, and you have an option to switch then. You don't have to switch then because you may be waiting until 70 and it may exceed at 66. But we are letting you know that now this one is the greater of the two. At whatever point you choose to switch, you can.
Okay, and I have 2 additional questions. For supplemental Social Security, for people who have to retire at 57, I'm assuming this is from one of our law enforcement, are there advantages for not filing for benefits until 62 or above?
Okay, so I'm assuming he's talking about that OPM supplement, which is not us. We don't offer you anything prior to age 62. So if that's the OPM supplement, he'll have to get with you guys on that one.
In a prior seminar, a speaker seemed to imply that there could be an advantage to initially filing for benefits and then suspending these benefits until full retirement years. Is this an option, and if so, what is the process?
Okay, so you can file and suspend. 2016, the law changed. You used to be able, most people would want to file and suspend so that their spouse could receive the benefits. So if you and your spouse were both full retirement age, the spouse who's still working would file for his retirement so that his spouse could start receiving the spouse's benefits, and then that the number holder, the worker, would suspend his benefits and the spouse would continue to get the spousal benefits. Well, as of January 2016, you can no longer do that. You can still file and suspend, but if you suspend your benefits, it suspends the benefits of anyone else on your record. All right. I think she's got a couple back here.
Getting back to the maximum income under full retirement age and then going into full retirement age, is that combined household income? And if so, can we file separately and base it on individual income?
So you're talking about the taxation piece?
No, I'm talking about the maximum income that you can make before you start reductions.
The maximum income you can take before you start
Right,
reductions.
it's the slide where you have on the full retirement age, 17,040.
Oh, the work.
Right.
So you're saying if you're both working?
Well,
I'm confused.
If you have, what's the income based on? Is it the combined income? My wife and I filed together. So I assume that if under the combined household income, or if it's the individual income.
So are you on the working, well, I'm sorry, on the working while receiving benefits slide? Where it's the 1740 or the 45?
Yes.
Okay. So that's talking about you, the individual working. So we're not looking at the earnings in the household. It's you, an individual. You're filing or you're receiving benefits from Social Security. We're going to look to see how much you are earning. And that's, the earnings are just about what you clock in. We're not talking about any pensions you may have or any rental properties you may have or your VA pension or your VA disability. It's just earnings. So if you have a spouse who's also working, then we're going to look at that spouse's earnings as on an individual basis. We won't combine the two earnings.
So the earnings is based only on my income. So if I retire, the earnings would be based on just my retirement income.
No,
not selling of stocks or anything like that.
No, it won't even be your when you say your retirement income, you're not talking about your pension.
The pension, yes.
No, we don't consider a pension in earnings. It's just when you go to a job and you clock in and you earn $17,040. But if you're just sitting at home, you know, bringing in income from other sources, that's not considered and we don't care about that.
And you don't care about my spouse's income?
Not when we're looking at your benefit, no.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. We got 3 or 4.
I hope this is just a quick question. So if my husband is going to turn 65 in December, and you said the open enrollment for Medicare is January through March, 3 months prior to December would be outside of that open enrollment period. How does he comply with that requirement that 3 months prior to December he enrolls?
Okay, so if he's 65 in December, he would not be subject to the general enrollment period. He would be in his initial enrollment period. And the initial enrollment period is December, the month he turns 65, the 3 months before that, and the 3 months after.
I got a quick question.
Yes, sir.
I was instructed by Social Security when in August we're coming in to sign up for it, okay? My spouse is coming with me because she's at home taking the child, so she and the child was also going to receive benefits.
Okay.
They asked me to bring the marriage certificate, okay? Do I bring the one the preacher gave us, that's real pretty in the book, or do I bring the one the state?
We want the one with the state seal on it.
The state seal?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, we got work to do. Thank you.
You're welcome. Yes, sir.
Just another quick question. Can you repeat the definition of a non-covered pension for purposes of the government pension offset?
Okay, so a non-covered pension is any pension that you're entitled to based on earnings that were not covered under Social Security, meaning Social Security taxes or FICA taxes were not withheld from those earnings.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Johnson, I attempted to get a copy of my benefit statement from Social Security, and because our agency had a fraud situation and someone filed taxes in my name 2 years, they said they couldn't give it to me via phone. Will I be able to get it online?
No. You would have to actually, did you put a block on like your credit or anything based on that fraud? Yes, okay, so if you have a block on your credit or with any of the credit bureaus, then you actually have to go face to face. And we would just ID you based on your driver's license and your face, and we would give you a code. Then you can set up your account. It's not gonna let you even go through those questions if you have a block. So you'd have to go in the office. You're welcome.
I have a question online. In considering retirement, why does the last year's earnings reflected in our employee personal page, which is our benefit system, not the same reported on someone's W-2 registered in the Social Security office?
I don't know anything about your employer, so I can't answer that one. I'm sorry.
Contact your HR benefit specialist, and we'll be happy to answer that question for you.
think they're bringing you a mic. Hold on one second.
I tried to get an account with Social Security Administration, and it denied me about half a dozen times because every time I answered the questions, it said I had the wrong answer. And they were my questions about me personally, and I know what the answers are. And so after answering the questions a few times, I began noticing that they were putting addresses in there and saying, did you live at this address? And these were addresses that my parents lived at, not me.
Okay.
So I have a sneaking suspicion that the database that you all are using is all messed up. And I went to the post office and talked to them about it, and they've got it mixed up too.
Okay. So the questions we get, we actually don't come up with. We get them from Experian. So yeah, we get the same credit when you're applying for whatever what street did you live on, who did you have a mortgage with. We don't come up with them. They're through Experian. But if you've run into not being able, because you can try and be locked out a few times and then you're blocked. And once you become blocked, you then have to, similar to the young lady situation, you have to come see us. And then we give you a code and you don't have to worry about the questions. Okay. So. All right. If there are no more questions, I thank you all for having me back again. Please do not hesitate to use my email address. I seriously don't want you to have to go sit in a Social Security office for 2 hours for a question that it won't take me but a couple of minutes to answer for you. And I promise you I will get back to you with an answer. But do not, and I know I probably don't need to say this, but don't include any personally identifiable information in your email to me. No Social Security numbers, no dates of birth. If you want me to look up something based on your social, give me a number, I'll call you and we can do it over the phone. All right, thank you so much.
If you all would please thank Ms. Tanya, Ms. Johnson. If you would remember to fill out your evaluation form and leave it at the table on your way out, we also would like to present a certificate of appreciation to Tanya Farrell Johnson for your outstanding support during the Drug Enforcement Administration's 2018 Financial Literacy and Education Program. We appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up is Medicare, and then this afternoon we will have a pre-retirement seminar.